Well, guys, something absolutely insane just happened for the game Chaos Zero Nightmare, and I honestly can't believe this is happening. So, first of all, they are going to completely rework the entire story and rewrite the whole thing a week after the game's release, approximately. They decided to tell you this. Let's go into a bit of the background of things that have been happening to Chaos Zero Nightmare. So, I, as an American English speaker, have been really enjoying the game and having a lot of fun. However, over in Korea, it has been a giant dumpster fire, and there's many reasons behind this. Some of them true, some of them false. So let's start with some of the initial things. So when the game immediately launched, there were a lot of people on message boards upset over a multitude of things. Some of them being such as AI use with certain stuff. This was an accusation. People were saying that they were getting NTR'd in the story. This is probably one of the main issues. People were upset with the translations, the art. There were server issues at the very beginning, which happens in a lot of games, but that's not excusable. Also, I believe starting day 1 or day 2, there were people getting their accounts randomly deleted, but then they were returned very soon after, so at least they addressed that. But those were some issues. Obviously, those are problems, but they were able to fix some of them. The translations were completely abysmal for some of the cards, where you'll see a word used like defeat in one text, and then another it'll say ravage, and it'll say breakthrough, but they all kind of mean the same thing. So very poor in that way. So this live stream happened with the director of the game, and so he wanted to address every single problem that people have and what they're going to do about it. First of all, the number one biggest thing that has been going all over Korea, even like drama channels in Korea are talking about it that don't even play the game or play any games really, it's become such a huge thing, is the story. So in the story, it's kind of sold to you as a self-insert character, you interacting with the characters. However, the story didn't live up to that. Instead, it's essentially you're more of a camera and you're kind of there and you interact with characters, but you don't do it that much. Instead, other characters seem to do that a lot more. So, right here, if we look at Chaos Zero Nightmare, this is Owen. This is apparently the Cuck King, the NTR god right here. Because apparently this guy is the one that is cucking you and stealing all your girls. Because you're the self-insert main character, but he's the one interacting with all the women and getting all the pussy. Basically, you're just a cuck sitting in the chair while he's getting all of them. This like 15-year-old looking guy. This is who your god is. He's the GOAT, basically. I'm gonna be real, I think this is completely ridiculous that people feel threatened by this guy, but hey, that's essentially what was going on. So people are calling it like an NTR game, and they're really pissed about the story. People are really mad. You gotta think about it this way. The waifu lovers, they're the ones who are probably spending the most money. And apparently, they're getting absolutely owned by the god Owen. So this was an enormous problem from day one, and this has been all over message boards everywhere. People have been losing their minds over Owen. Sounds like a Styx video title. So the director came on screen and said, all right, guys, we are going to be rewriting the entire story. And he also explained that apparently the story was initially supposed to be kind of different. First of all, it was supposed to be more of a endless loop, sort of like, maybe something like ReZero, where you're looping trying to get the good ending in a way. That's the initial premise of the story, and they changed it. Also, the initial story writer left, whether it was due to maybe possibly some politics or some other reasons. But essentially, the initial story writer left, and they had to rewrite many parts of it, and essentially the story became a bastardized self. And because of that, these internal politics, it kind of just killed the whole story, and then they had to rework it, finish it in time for release, because they didn't have that much time. And so, because of this, essentially the story got ruined for many, many players. And I'm not much of a story reader. I don't really care about it. I think the gameplay is amazing. I've seen very little criticism of the gameplay, but more everything surrounding it. And so the story got ruined, and now people think that Owen is the NTR god and that it sucks. So, huge issue, and that's what he addressed. They said that they're going to be rewriting the story, and it should be completely finished by early next year, I believe they said. I don't know if they're going to start doing little pieces at a time and releasing them, or if they're just going to wait for all of it to be done at once. But one really big concern about this for me is, I mean, I don't really care about the entire story thing. It feels like a lot of development time is going to be used on that. That kind of sucks. I hope they just are able to like hire extra people to work on that while they work on everything else, but that sounds like a lot of time and money spent on something that I personally don't care about, but obviously is a really big issue in Korea, and theoretically Korea would be one of the main audiences. What's really funny about this entire controversy as well is their previous game, Epic 7, also was mired in controversy at launch. In fact, it was so hated by people that they had to have the like CEO or the top people basically all show up, bow and apologize, and say how they're changing the game. So as far as I'm concerned, this is basically just par for the course. This is going to happen with every single game they release. Which is unfortunate because I think they make good games. They just seem to have a lot of problems around launch. So the next thing that he addressed as well. No AI is being used. There's been many accusations of it. People have said, well, why does this character art look like this, but then this other picture of them looks like this? They have different artists working on these different parts. And so I think that it's very plausible that they just have differences in there. Also, in initial Epic 7, there were many art issues like that are very similar, and that was 7 years ago, way before AI was being used for everything. So I kind of believe that. They also, I believe, admitted like a while back that they only at all used AI whatsoever for an initial design concept, basically to visualize certain things of like, okay, well, what if we make the character like this? Like maybe change his outfit slightly, like how does that look, just to visualize it? But then they would have an artist essentially create the character themselves. So it was more just as like a conceptualization of characters. So they addressed the AI thing, and that's where he said absolutely no AI is being used for this, which, I mean, you can believe it or not believe it, it's up to you, but I think it's very plausible. I think he would have just apologized and said, yeah, we used it and we are sorry and we're going to change it if he had. At least that's what I think. Also said that really wants to fix the translation issues. There are many, many problems with it. I mean, everyone who plays the game knows there's a million translation issues, and we all bear with it. The thing is, like, the funny part about Chaos Zero Nightmare is it has so many problems, and yet so many people are playing it and grinding the game nonstop because it's just so damn fun. So it's kind of funny that you essentially have a diamond surrounded in crap where there's so many problems, but the game itself is so good that you just don't even care. You're just like, I don't even know what half these cards do, but whatever, it's so fun. Whatever, the pull system's kind of a pain, whatever. But speaking of which, he addressed the pull system, saying that it was supposed to be 30% more generous by their calculations than other 50-50 systems, supposedly, allegedly. And I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't really done the math, but a big thing in Korea was they do not like the 50-50 system. And if you don't know what the 50-50 system is, it's what games like Genshin and Wuthering Waves use, where you hit a pity or you get a 5-star character and there's a 50% chance it's the character you want, or a 50% chance it's a random character from the standard pool. And so because Chaos Zero Nightmare has that system, which I would say it's a system that is kind of falling off, people are starting to become more and more tired of it as they realize that there's way better pity systems out there. It was a big controversy that people were upset about. But since the game was so close to launch by the time it had shown off and everyone gave their feedback on it, they probably didn't have enough time to change it, but it's kind of a huge issue. So they said, we're going to be giving out more free pulls every single week. Will that fix the problem? I'm not sure, because people just don't like the system in general, but still, that does matter. Another thing they said is they're going to be somehow reworking the affection system in some way by the next patch, I believe. The current affection system basically just doesn't really make any sense because it feels impossible to level it. Comically, I saw someone in my chat say, but if they rework it, what if someone already has affection at max? It does not matter if you are Bill Gates, you would still not have that thing maxed out by now. Not even Jeff Bezos would be able to max out a single character's affection by now. It's so insane. So I think everyone's down for a bit of a change or rework on that because it's absolutely crazy how slow it is. They've been giving out a bunch of free affection things in the mailbox to offset this, which has been great, but obviously it needs some reworks. Now, let me talk about another thing, and this is a very big thing in Korea, and this is sort of the root cause of a lot of the problems with the story as well. And I'm no expert on this, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But basically, there's a bit of a gender war going on in Korea. And I'm just some random American guy, but I hear lots of bits and pieces of it, especially seeing stuff on the internet. And this has gotten into drama in many Korean games, actually. It's not just this one. It's a very big thing on the internet right now, and essentially there's kind of radical groups on both sides, whether it's radical feminists or radical, I mean, for lack of a better word, I guess, incels in a way. I'm not really sure the word to use there. But basically, this is a big part of why the story is such a big deal to players, is they feel like it's almost trash talking them or talking down to them in a way. There's this whole thing with like a pinch symbol of someone going like this, and it basically means, I don't know, like small dick or something like that. That's like a symbol that gets used online by feminists and stuff. And so the director actually had to come out and say, we have nothing to do with feminist groups or anything. We were just trying to make games. Pretty much had to come out and say that. There's been other games, for instance, such as Limbus Company, where artists actually got fired in relation to this, or characters weren't made sexy enough in bikinis, and so people got fired over it in some of this. There was even a thing that happened maybe less than a year ago, where like there were at least 10 different Korean companies, and some of the big ones, like Nexon, for instance, had people pissed at them and artists fired at all these different companies in relation to people will dig up artists' backgrounds and stuff like that to see if they're part of these groups. It's such a huge thing going on in Korea. I don't understand the full context of it, and I don't want to say that I fully know what's going on, but me as an outsider, it feels completely ridiculous, and I genuinely cannot comprehend it. As someone who is basically the loneliest ass dude ever, I don't know how these people have somehow one-upped me by then getting cucked by Owen and making a big deal out of it. I don't really get it. Like, genuinely, I don't really understand this entire thing, but maybe there's some context that is crazy that I just don't really understand. I mean, I know that there's some crazy groups that are basically saying kill all men and stuff like that in Korea as well. I don't know how big of a thing that is, but yeah, there's a lot of political stuff going on, and it's very big online there. I don't speak Korean, and I don't know all the stuff going on, but that's my take on it, and from what I understand. And so, essentially, that's why the director had to come up on stage here today for his first live stream performance. And the chat was absolutely brutal. The most killer chat I have ever seen. Because if you think toxicity in games is bad, like League of Legends or something in the West, you get banned for saying like GG noob. Bro, the Korean chat was tearing him apart. It was the most toxic ass chat ever. They basically just wanted to see him strung up right then and there. They have zero sympathy or empathy for the man on stage. They are just like, quit. We want you fired. Get out of here. You're worthless. That's basically the sentiment that you saw. It was worse than Lakari or E-Rob chat. It was brutal. Will the game be able to bounce back? I don't know. I think the game is genuinely incredibly good. It's incredibly fun. It has so much potential. It's by far one of the most fun gacha games I've ever played. And so it's such a shame to see it mired in so much controversy, especially when it's so much controversy that I don't even really personally care about or have any stake in. That's the most absurd part. I mean, I'd love to see this game only improved in every way possible, and that includes story, but I'm not really sure that this is the way that it should have gone. Will they try to focus on the Korean audience and pleasing them? Maybe. Epic 7 actually was able to win back a lot of the Korean audience for a long time. Or are they just going to try and win over a more Western audience? I don't know, because the game doesn't seem to be doing incredible in Japan, as far as I know. And obviously, Korea's pissed, and people are saying just refund now. I believe the game has a 2.2 on Google Play right now with many, 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 many one-star reviews. Just getting absolutely review bombed. You know what's funny, though, is somehow, even after all this, this game has apparently made more money than Stella Sora. So that is a little bit comical. At least we got that going for us. Anyways, that's pretty much the gist of everything that happened with this live stream. And it's really a shame to see because this game has a lot of problems. And I've played a bunch of different games that have a lot of problems. But what matters more to me is the core of the product, because even if a game has many issues surrounding it, most of those can usually be fixed, like server issues or art issues or translation issues. You can fix those things, hell, even story issues. But it's hard to get a game where the core part, the meat of it, is incredibly good, especially a gacha. And so it would really be such a shame to see a game like this die after it has the perfect core. It just has so many bad things surrounding it. If it's just given some time, I really think it could flourish. So I really hope it gets that opportunity. I do think back to the fact that Epic 7 had so many problems, and some people wouldn't even believe how predatory and bad that game was at launch. It was unbelievable. We're talking banners with 2 characters on it, like no pity. Like, it was unreal how bad it was at launch, and they had to do this huge apology and give out all this free stuff, completely change the systems, etc. So if that can recover and be a game that's now been going on for 7 years with a bunch of world championship tournaments and all sorts of stuff, then, well, hopefully this game can too. Anyways, thanks a bunch for watching, guys. I hope to see you next time.